Have you ever felt torn between what your heart desires and what your family expects of you? That feeling of being happy with someone new, of feeling life blossom again in your heart, but at the same time, hearing voices, sometimes silent, sometimes quite audible, from children, siblings, or even grandchildren, telling you with words or looks that this happiness might not be so welcome? That's right. When we find love again after 60, it's like a little sun warming us again. It doesn't matter if it's been 5, 10, or 30 years since our last relationship. Suddenly, someone looks at us with affection, listens to us attentively, laughs with us, and makes time pass more easily. And then, we fall in love. Life takes on a new layer of color. But those around us don't always see it the same way. Many people our age carry this doubt in their hearts. Can I really live this love without hurting anyone in my family? Or worse, do I need to give this up to maintain harmony with my children? That's why we're here, to talk lovingly about how to set boundaries with family when we fall in love again. Because love, at any age, is a right, and so is respect. The first thing I want to remind you is that it's not wrong to love again. It may seem obvious, but it's not that simple for many people. Some people think that, after a certain age, we should keep quiet, stay out of trouble, or let it go. But that's not fair, because we continue to feel, dream, and long for company. Loneliness doesn't become a friend just because we get older. And when someone special appears, it's like rediscovering a piece of ourselves that had been dormant. The lightness of a warm good morning, a late afternoon conversation, a walk hand in hand, these things don't expire. They have value. Now, I get it. Sometimes children worry. Sometimes they're afraid we'll be deceived, used, or suffer. And yes, their intentions may even be good. But the way they say or behave doesn't always help. I've heard stories of children who emotionally blackmail us. You're leaving us for that person. Or who say, at your age, that's ridiculous. And it hurts to hear those things, right? But look, this doesn't mean you have to accept everything silently. Quite the opposite. Loving again also means taking a stand, taking care of yourself, protecting yourself emotionally, including from the lack of understanding from the one you love. Setting boundaries starts with something simple but powerful. Recognize your own right to choose what is good for you. You don't need to justify your happiness. You can talk, explain, and welcome other people's doubts, but you don't need to ask permission to feel. This isn't rebellion, it's emotional maturity. Let's imagine a situation. You're starting to date someone. You're happy and excited, but you notice one of your children acting strangely. They become dry in their messages, avoid the subject, or make offensive comments. What should you do? The first natural reaction would be to recoil. Maybe I'm really doing something wrong. But what if instead you took a deep breath and said something like, I realize you're uncomfortable with this new phase of my life, and I respect that. But I also want to live this time of my life with joy. We can talk about what's bothering you, but I want you to know that this is my decision. See the difference? You're not fighting. You're not over-explaining. You're saying firmly and gently, this is my space. That's setting a boundary. And you know what's interesting? Often, others' resistance diminishes when they see you're confident, calm, and happy. They may not agree right away, but they learn to respect you, because your actions speak louder than your words. Now, of course, every family has its own story, its own wounds, and its own patterns. Sometimes children become their parents' parents and forget that you still have autonomy. Sometimes there's an unconscious fear that the new love will steal the place they think they occupy. At these times, it's worth remembering that love isn't divided, it multiplies. You can love your family and at the same time love someone new. One thing doesn't cancel out the other. And demonstrating this in practice is a beautiful way to break down these barriers. Want a simple example?
Invite the family to meet the person without forcing anything. Show that everything is out in the open, without secrets. Say lovingly, "I'm fine, I'm happy, and I want you to be a part of this, if you want." This soothes hearts, even the most suspicious. But of course, there are cases where the boundary needs to be firmer. When there are invasions, disrespect, or attempts at control, the ideal is to put an end to it without guilt. It's not a lack of love, it's self-love. You can say, "I love you, but this matter is my choice, and I won't compromise it." If this sounds difficult, that's okay.
We weren't raised to set limits. We were raised to please, to keep quiet, to keep the peace. But true peace isn't about staying silent, it's about expressing yourself respectfully. And speaking of which, you know when you feel like you're losing your joy for fear of displeasing someone? That's a sign that a boundary needs to be drawn urgently, because your life is yours, and no one else has the right to live it for you. I know this all might seem a bit overwhelming, but remember, we're not talking about confrontation. We're talking about protection, protecting your happiness, your freedom, and your emotional health. You're not alone. There are many people in this same stage of life going through the same thing, rediscovering love and trying to balance joy with respect for their family. And this conversation isn't over yet. There's more important things for us to discuss. You know when suddenly something makes you wonder, am I overreacting or am I just allowing myself to live? Well, stay with me because we'll talk more about this. Sometimes, amidst so much doubt, what we need most is a silent confirmation that it's okay to feel what you're feeling, that there's nothing wrong with seeking company, affection, and a partner for the good days, and the hard ones too. Have you ever noticed how, after 60, we start to appreciate the simple moments more? A shared coffee, a walk hand in hand, a laugh at the right time. These are the things that bring meaning. It's not about grand adventures. It's not about doing what others expect. It's about being well inside. But the problem is that often, outside noise disrupts this well-being. Opinions, judgments, demands. All of this gradually erodes our confidence. And then we start to wonder if it's even right to move forward. You know that voice that whispers, "Will this work?" Or, "Will my family accept me this way?" Well, yes. These voices aren't just from others. They often live inside us, built over a lifetime by guilt, fear, or habit. But you see, it's precisely now that you have the chance to do things differently, to put yourself first without hurting anyone, to choose with love, but also with firmness, how you want to live your next years. Maybe someone in your family says, "But you don't even know that person well." And that's okay. That's natural. Sometimes they're really trying to protect you. But true protection doesn't come with imposition, it comes with listening and respect. And that's where a powerful attitude comes in. Talking, without justifying yourself, but with sincerity. Saying something like, "I understand your concern, but I'm living this consciously. I know what I'm doing, and I'm happy with this choice." Speaking with eye contact and calmness, this breaks down many walls. What if the other person insists? If they keep telling you it's wrong, that it's not the right time, that it's going to cause problems, then maybe it's time to go a step further. Acknowledge that their opinion is their own, and that it doesn't have to define your life. There comes a time after a certain age when we realize we no longer need to prove anything to anyone. We don't need to convince everyone, we don't need to please everyone, we just need to live in coherence with our feelings. Have you ever realized how many times you've held back from doing something because you were afraid of judgment? How many opportunities for joy have you missed because someone turned up their nose? Well then, it doesn't have to be that way from now on. Setting boundaries also means knowing what you can't accept anymore. For example, jokes that diminish your relationship, comparisons to the past, intrusions on your dates, comments like "you're kidding yourself." These things, though they seem small, hurt. And you have the right to say, "That's not cool. I'd rather we treat each other with respect." And remember, there's no need to raise your voice. Limits are stronger
when they come calmly. It's like when we close the door at home without knocking, but making it clear that this is our space. By the way, speaking of space, there's something very important here. Your relationship doesn't need to be explained all the time. Sometimes it's worth keeping certain details to yourself, not out of fear, but to protect your privacy. Not everyone needs to know how you met, what you do together, what you plan. Happiness has a corner of its own, and knowing how to protect it is also wisdom. Another thing that can happen is you start to question yourself too much. Am I being selfish? Will my family distance themselves if I continue this relationship? Look, if someone distances themselves from you because of your happiness, perhaps that bond needs to be reevaluated. True family love doesn't require sacrifice of the soul, it embraces. And it's not about choosing between new love and family. It's not a duel.
It's possible to build a respectful coexistence, as long as everyone accepts that you have the right to follow your feelings. But this coexistence starts with you, clearly establishing what is acceptable and what is not. Want to see an example of a simple sentence that changes the game? I wish we could talk about this without judgment, because this relationship is doing me so much good. Or, I respect your perspective, but I ask that you respect my decision. Simple, direct, affectionate, and with boundaries. Also, remember to care for those who support you. Sometimes one of your children understands, supports, and welcomes you. And we focus so much on what's difficult that we forget to appreciate those who are already there. A hug, a thank you for being with me are also part of this process. And do you know what helps most during this phase? Sharing experiences with others who are going through something similar. Maybe a friend who has also found love again. Maybe someone from your church group, your dance group, your walking group, or even commenting on your experience here in this video. This mutual support gives you the strength to move forward with more ease, because at the end of the day, what we really want is to live with joy, with freedom, with love. And if it's with someone who makes us smile in the morning, even better. And there's still more I'd like to share with you. Some actions that strengthen this boundary in practical ways, in everyday life, and help maintain balance without sacrificing what matters. Let's talk about that in a moment. There comes a time when we realize protecting our own joy isn't selfish, it's maturity. It doesn't mean turning a blind eye to family, ignoring feelings, or fighting with those we love. It just means, and this is huge, telling ourselves, I deserve to live well. I deserve to feel this warmth in my chest, and I have the right to choose how I want to live my days. Setting boundaries with family when you're in love again is often a silent process. It doesn't involve yelling, stomping your feet, or distancing yourself from everyone. Quite the opposite. It's like pruning a tree. It's not meant to hurt, it's meant to allow it to grow better. It's about saying no to what invades so you can say yes to what strengthens you. And do you know what one of the most beautiful gestures you can make right now is being consistent? Showing with consistent actions that this new relationship doesn't take anything away from anyone, it only adds to you. That your life is lighter, your mood has improved, that you're still present, but now happier. The family notices. Even if it takes a while, even if they resist, deep down, everyone wants to see the one they love happy, even if they sometimes don't know how to show it at first. But what if they don't accept? What if the judgmental looks continue? What if that awkward silence at Sunday lunch persists? Here comes a point that many people avoid, but which is liberating. You don't need anyone's approval to be happy. Of course it's nice when everyone supports you. Of course it's better when there's harmony. But if that doesn't happen now, you still have the right to continue living this love. And who knows, over time, this resistance will turn into respect, or even acceptance. Have you ever seen how many people regretted letting love slip away for fear of what others would think? Maybe you even know someone like that, someone who says today, "Oh, if only I'd followed my heart back then." You can still choose differently. You can move forward with courage, with tenderness, with truth, and with boundaries. Because boundaries don't drive away love, they protect it. They protect you, they protect your relationship, they protect your peace. And protecting your peace also involves small gestures in your daily life, like not opening discussions about your love life when you feel like the other person is just trying to convince you otherwise. How to gently make it clear that there are topics that aren't open for discussion, and how to calmly show that you're confident in your decision and won't back down under pressure. It's like when we learn to say no firmly and kindly at the same time. I hear you, but I won't change my choice. I understand you, but this is my life. These phrases, when said calmly, have more power than any shout. And more, remember to enjoy it, to live this love with presence, to laugh without guilt, to make plans, big and small, to allow yourself good moments, even if someone doesn't approve. Because in the end, the one who will lay their head on the pillow with a peaceful heart is you. Don't forget to look at yourself generously, to recognize your courage, to realize that if you've made it this far, it's because you have enormous strength within you, a strength that many haven't even realized yet. You're not being stubborn, you're being true to yourself, and that's so beautiful. Because life after 60 can still be full of energy, choices, and discoveries. You're not at the end, you're at a new beginning. And like every beginning, it requires decision, patience, and also joy. Now, if this conversation touched your heart in any way, I want to invite you to continue with us here on the channel. Subscribe, just click below. That way, you won't miss the next videos and continue on this journey of living with more truth, more freedom, and more love. Please also leave a like. This helps the channel reach others who are going through similar situations. And if you know someone who needs to hear this conversation, a friend, perhaps a relative, share this video with them. Sometimes a word arrives at just the right time and changes everything. And I want to hear from you. What has it been like for you to experience a new love? Have you ever experienced a situation similar to what we've discussed here? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to read your story, and I'm sure others will feel more understood knowing they're not alone. Thank you for being here, for listening to me until the end, for having the courage to live, even if some still don't understand. Your life is too precious to be lived halfway, and I'm rooting for you. Until the next video, God bless you, and carry on with love in your heart.